Hello everybody and welcome to a video that I have been waiting, eagerly anticipating, and just dying to make. I am so excited to finally reveal to you guys what I've been working with and what I've been working on. And let's just cut right to the chase. For those of you in my live streams that have been saying it is a Behringer Wing Compact, give yourself a medal because this is a brand new Behringer Wing Compact. Let's get right to it. Alright guys, we are in my home studio and we are going to take this console for a quick overlay. I'm going to show you the menus and show you the basics of the operations, and then we are going to pack this up and bring it right to a gig. Now obviously I could not make this video without the support of Behringer, so thank you guys so much at Behringer for sending me this brand new console to work with. And it's just crazy that my YouTube channel has taken off to the point where companies like Behringer are actually sending me gear to work with. So what Behringer sent me is, of course, the console, this very nice covering for the console, and a rack mount. Now, I am not using the rack mount to put this in a case, but Behringer sent these anyway. I'm just not using them. So I think you guys want me to shut up and take off this covering. So first things first, the covering on this is very nice and tight and secure. It fits nice, the material's nice, and it certainly isn't falling apart like my Behringer X32 covering at the music venue. So let's take off the covering and see what we got. And here we are. Guys, this is the brand new Behringer Wing Compact. Let's just put that right there for a second. So let's go over some basics of this console. I didn't even take off the plastic covering of the VU meters yet. First things first, I am coming from a X32. I use the X32 almost every day at my music venue, and that is the console of choice. I have not used a Wing console in any capacity. So this is the first time I'm being exposed to the Wing elements, the Wing system, and the software that comes with this console. Now, first and foremost, a thing that you might notice right out of the gate is this large screen right here. Now, this screen you can pull up and you can see yourself. And doesn't matter how tall you are or where the console is, this has a wide range of options for you to adjust the screen to your liking, and I'm just going to put it right here in the utmost position so you guys can see the screen with me. Now, the number one complaint that I've seen from people on the forums and the discussions about the Wing system is the lack of local I/O and local support. So Behringer addressed that problem, and here is the back of the Wing Compact. And as you can see, they took care of all of the local inputs that you would need. 24 local slots, 8 local out, support for 3 AES-50 ports, network connections for Dante, USB, and Behringer was kind enough to include the dual SD card recorder, so I can record multi-track on this to mix later on in post, making recording shows very easy. It also has MIDI in, MIDI out, headphone port here, and there's another headphone port down below. There is no dedicated talkback mic input, so you have to select a local input slot here and set it up manually on the screen for a talkback system, but it's very easy to do. Now, I personally am not going to be using the talkback feature for this video, but I'm sure in a future video I can go over the tutorial on how to do that. But now I think you guys want to see this powered on more than anything, and I'm happy to show you guys. So let's turn on the console. Give it about 5 to 7 seconds to boot up. The Behringer X32 definitely loads faster than this, but I'm not complaining because this is an all-digital system and there's a lot of software that comes with this console. And here we go. This is what the Behringer Wing Compact looks like when it's powered on. Now, if first thing you notice is how big the user interface is on this touchscreen. And yes, it is touchscreen. And while I was not a fan of touchscreens because I don't like fingerprints all over the place, on the X32 I am used to operating it with the buttons and the dials. Operating this with the touchscreen, especially with EQs, that is pretty amazing. I'm not going to lie. This is the first console I'm using that has a touchscreen feature, and honestly, I don't think I'm going to go back. So as you can see here, I have my show loaded up for tonight. We have a kick drum, we have a snare, and I have noise gates selected here. I have 2 overheads. Now every input is stereo, but this does not have a link feature in order to link this with this. So the 2 faders working together, not going to happen. But with 24 local inputs, I do not mind using 2 XLRs for 1 overhead on each side of the drum kit. So we have kick, snare, and 2 overheads for tonight's show. Toms are not being mic'd up because the band is playing at a bar. We don't really need toms for a bar environment. We have a bass, 2 guitars, keyboards, and 3 vocals. And I have channel 12 right here to connect my phone locally to the board so I could play some music between their sets tonight. So I have my entire show ready to go on all 12 channels on the front. I don't need to go to the second page. But you have inputs 1 through 12, 13 to 24. You have an option of 36 inputs here. And then here are your aux inputs. Your bus master, we have 2 monitors for tonight. We have a vocal monitor and a drum monitor. And I have just a reverb that I'm going to be sending the snare drum, the guitars and keyboards to, and delay for vocals. It's a very, very simple setup of what we're doing tonight, but it's going to take care of the job. So as with most compact consoles, you have to go through a lot of submenus here to just get to the channels faders that you want. It's not as wide as a full-size Wing console, so everything is compact, hence the name compact. That means over here, we do not have a dedicated sends on fader button. So if you go to buses right here, as you can see, you have my vocal monitor, drum monitor, reverb, and delay. So if I wanted to send vocals to the vocal wedge, I hit bus and then I hit bus 1. Here is the volume for my bus. Now, if I bring this down to -30, I exit sends on fader and I go to bus master. Look, this fader is now at 30. So when you select your options here, you can select the bus, your DCAs, your mains and matrices, and a custom user settings. So if I select bus and I hit 1, let's bring the send all the way up to unity. And now, as this is flashing, I can now select my vocals and just raise them up like this. And that is how you will send any source you want to a bus for monitors. Same thing with DCAs. If you want to select a DCA, like let's say if I want to group drums in one DCA, you hit DCA, you hit DCA 1, you hold down select, you go to your drum channels, in which case my channels are 1 through 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now your DCA 1 are the drums. And it just eliminate it, same thing, hold down select, and while it's flashing, hit select. And now, when you go back to your DCAs, there's nothing there. It's very easy once you get used to it. You just have to get used to the fact that this is a smaller version of a full-size console. So everything still works the same. It's just different locations of the buttons. But I think what a lot of you are interested in is the user interface. And if you are familiar with the Wing system, you are in luck because this is exactly the same as the full-size Wing console. There is just different ways to do the same thing. So for instance, if I go to my bus master and go to my delay effect right here, if I hit select and I go to my delay, you see this flashing button here. This is now the button where I can control the tempo of the beat. So if it's a ba 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 ba, if I want to go ba 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 ba, there it is. That's how I adjust the tempo on my delay. And with reverb, I have a vintage reverb selected here. And if I wanted to add drums, for instance, to this, if I wanted to add the snare drum to it, you go to bus, select bus 1, go to your main input here, and there's my snare drum, unmute it, and send a little bit. And now this snare drum is going to this vintage reverb. It's very easy to do. You just got to get used to the smallness of the workstation that you have to work with here. And what I love more than anything is, first off, how easy it is to get this going. So I have my noise gate set up right here. For the kick drum, it's pretty standard, straightforward. I like to noise gate before I hit anything else. And then what we like to do with this is, by default, it'll come up with the Wing EQ, and we could select this to be a shelf or a cut, or what this console can do is you can load basically plugins of various vintage EQs. Obviously, this is the SSL. This is the Pulsar EQ, Even 84. This looks like a Neve I'm sure I'm wrong about that, but this is the even 88 format, and each of these EQs has its own characteristic. But I think for my purpose, I'm going to stick with the SSL because I know the sound of that more than anything, and I use these plugins the most in my post-production when I'm mixing bands. So I am going to stick with the SSL because that's what's familiar to me. Same thing with compressors. If I want to go now from the EQ to the compressor, same thing. Here is the default wing compressor. It's exactly the same as the full-size one, but what we can do is look at all of these different analog model compressors. I chose the red compressor for the kick drum. I'm going to see how that sounds tonight because I've honestly have yet to hear it. But I know for sure that for bass guitar, for instance, nothing beats the sound of a distressor on a bass guitar. And this has a distressor emulation. But the best thing about this, you see these inserts right here below? This is a effect panel. So if you're looking at a DAW, it's like a blank effect panel that you can put a plugin on. And joy of joys, with the winged selection of consoles, we have tons of more options than the X32. I know that even just going on the X32, we only have 8 effects for the X32. We have 16 on this. So we have tons more space and tons more options for the wing. Now the best thing about this is if I want to use the sound of the distressor and not use the default compressor, that's great. But the highlight of this, to me at least, is this will not use an effects chain slot in my effects tabs. So for example, look at this. The effects processor, you don't see the distressor right here because it's built into the channel, just like it is in your DAW when you're mixing a record. That's amazing. I love that feature, and that already has me sold completely on this console. Now, obviously, we adjusted a couple things here, and I want to go back to the default setting where my scene was. So to do that, go to Library. I already have a scene for Dingbats, the main venue I work at, and Black Mountain Haze, which is the band we're working with tonight. So you click that, you click Load, and now we are back to where we were as far as the settings go. So there is my EQ for my bass, same with the kick drum, same with the snare. It's very easy to save a snapshot. And trust me, I know I'm glossing over a lot of features, but I think what you guys want to see more than anything is this console in action in a live sound setting. So let's pack this up and get right to the bar. All right, John, if you're all set, give me that kick. Snare. Just give me like a little jam with everything, including tom fills. Awesome. All right, and if drums and bass can just jam a little bit. guitar? Bass? Yes. Okay, cool. Do you need it louder or lower, or is everything good? Louder. Okay. John, can you hear him? Okay. Alright, guys. Cool. Okay, guys, we are all done with Soundcheck. Well, I just lied. We're not done. So we need to do the DI guitar, but that's a DI guitar that's very easy to EQ and get balanced. Let's take a look at what's going on over here. So we're using inputs 1 through 13, 7 and 8 are main, left, and right. And bus 1 and 2 are floor wedges, bus 2 is drum wedge. And as you can hear, we got music going. In short, the first gig with the Wing Compact went off without a hitch. I was really impressed with how nice the preamps are, which by the way are all Midas Pro preamps, the same that already come on the full-size Wing. I was impressed with how good the onboard plugins are and how easy this console operated once I got used to the user interface. Comparing this to the X32, one thing I find a little annoying is having to navigate two different sub-menus to find mute groups, where the X32 has dedicated mute group buttons. Not everyone uses Wing consoles, so the X32 is the more common console for small venues, churches, and some touring front of house and monitor consoles, meaning it will be easier for touring engineers to load their scenes and presets versus having to create new presets for Wing systems. This console won me over after just one gig, and I personally would switch to this at my venue if we could. The ability to change the EQ and compressor models to form unique sounds without having to sacrifice an effect slot is a game changer, and the UI operated very smoothly. This console can do so many more things than what I showed in this video, but I'll be uploading more content with this console as I get more use out of it. With a price tag of only $2,500, for me, I can confidently say that this is an amazing option for bang for buck value. Thank you so much to Behringer for sending me this console to use, and I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to like and subscribe.